Well, good day, everybody, wherever you are. Welcome to Talks on Tuesday, where we meet every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Pacific time to talk about a variety of metaphysical, paranormal, bizarre, and interesting topics on Tuesdays. So today, I thought that I would talk a little bit about tarot. And I think most of you have known about tarot cards for a long time. Some of you have many decks, others have had decks. Some of you read tarot, some of you go to readers who do that for you. There's a place online called tarot.com, which is actually pretty good. I used to share this some office space with them when they were first developing their program, and they were very serious about it. And that's if you don't have your own deck and you don't want to pay a reader, you can always get a daily reading for free there. But I thought I'd give you a little history. It looks as if the beginnings were pretty boring. It began as a regular card deck, and people played a game a lot like bridge with them. Started in England, not England, in Italy, and then went to France. And then nobody seems to know when the arcane symbols began to be added to the deck. There are a lot of rumors that it started in ancient Egypt and all that, but there doesn't seem to be any real evidence for that. At least according to 3 or 4 sites I looked at this morning. And it began with the 52 cards with the 4 suits, wands, cups, coins, and swords, and the face cards that went with those. And then over time, people started telling fortunes with them. And when I first learned to read cards, it was my grandmother reading playing cards. She was Norwegian, and I think that came down to her. But the tarot cards have added 27 extra cards known as the major arcana. And those are they are the most important cards in the deck. And they tell the story of the fool as the fool goes through life. And I'm going to just let Cecilia in there. The fool is the protagonist, the main character of the deck. And each card in the major arcana shows his progressive as he grows from being this innocent, naive fool to where he has become ascended. And when we read the cards, we can count ourselves as the fool. Most of us are pretty naive. Or some of us have identified a card that represents us. When you play with playing cards, when you tell fortunes with playing cards, it goes by your coloration. I was always the Queen of Hearts when my grandma told my fortune. If you're a little bit darker than that, you would be the Queen of Diamonds. Clubs would be like Julie, and spades would be like someone who would be of color or darker complected. And that's how we used to designate it. Some people designate what's called the significator, their own card, with numerology. And when you do that, if you know numerology, every letter of your name is associated with a number. Like A is 1, B is 2, and you just add those numbers and keep dividing down until you get to a single digit. So you identify your significator, or it could just be that in the kind of reading you decide to do, you let the querent, the person getting the reading, pull a card that will represent them. So there are all kinds of ways of doing it. There's certainly many traditional ways, the traditional meanings for each of the cards. And a good book for that, if you like to read your own cards, but you don't trust your own interpretation, is called Tarot Made Easy. And it has a double page for every tarot card. And then it has 12 categories. Like if you're trying to find out about your finances, you go to, say, the Four of Cups, and you scroll down and you look at finances or love or journeys or whatever it is you want to know about. And it's very complete. So that's a good way to do it. If like me, you're a little wary of your readings of yourself, because there are things I want to see in the reading. So, hi, Colleen. Yeah, but I wanted to tell you today, I don't use a traditional set of meanings when I read tarot for various people I know. And that's because I tried to do it the traditional way when I was first reading the tarot, but thoughts kept coming into my head that had to do with the archetypal figures that are represented in each of the cards. So like, we'll say the Lovers has various meanings in traditional readings, or different if it's reversed. Some people read reversed and others don't. But I just kept getting stories in my head as I was looking at the cards, and that became my reading. And I just have followed that and not tried to do it the traditional way. The most probably basic deck is the Rider-Waite. And that has most of the traditional symbols that you see. I use the Connolly deck because it's a little bit kinder, at least in my interpretation. Instead of the Devil card, the Connolly deck has materialism for the Devil. And for Death, it has transition. So that's what I read. And I thought today I would just kind of throw it open for questions. And then if anybody would like a short reading, I can do that. Yeah, Barb.
Thanks, Mary. That was really helpful. Some of that history I knew, some of it I didn't. That's fascinating. Um, and I just wanted to share that I love how you got stories when you pulled your cards, because you are so into stories.
Mhm.
And being a writer, of course, and just your history and interests. So it makes sense to me that you would pull cards and then get stories behind them and be able to relate them to the person that you're reading, or to the reading. So that, to me, that makes a lot of sense. I just wanted to share that. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. And it's interesting that when I am done with a reading, I don't remember any of it. People will, say 2 weeks later, when you pulled this card, you said this. I said, I'm sorry, I just don't remember. Like even 10 minutes later, I don't remember what I said. So I don't know. It's a little bit mystical for me. And things are always mystical when you go to a reader. I don't think I've got any particular power, but people say I do a good reading. So I wouldn't know because I don't remember.
So who wants a reading? Go ahead,
Julie.
Jules.
Okay. Now, ordinarily,
Okay.
I would give you the deck to shuffle for a while to get your um, vibes onto it. And I'm just going to shuffle these, and you can tell me when to stop.
Okay.
Okay.
No, I meant okay. I'll tell you when to stop.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Okay, stop.
Okay. I'm going to pull 3 cards for you in response to a question you have. you have a question?
Um, hmm. Wow, I didn't think about that. Oh, um, will my friend pass away this month?
Okay, so that's a yes or no question. So I'll pull 3 cards and I'll just hold them up. Um, let's see. We have 2 upright and 1 reversed, and that's a no. Oh no, it's a yes. The upright ones say yes. The down, if I'd gotten 3 upside down, it would be no. 2 upside down and a yes is probably. So I would say yeah.
Okay.
And I'm reading
Yeah.
that as the next 30 days, not the month of January.
Oh, okay. All right. Cool.
Let's ask a more interpretive question.
Like
Well,
what?
will Prince, tell me about my relationship. What's going to happen with my relationship with so and so, or
Uh, ooh, okay. Tell me about my non-relationship. Can I say that? With my sister?
oh, okay. Um, Again, I'm going to pull 3 cards, and I'm shuffling the cards with my hand right now, and it will whatever
Okay.
is on the top when you tell me to stop, I'll pull that one out.
Okay, stop.
Okay. We have, here's that, the 7 of Wands. I'll pull one more when you tell me to stop.
Stop.
World.
Okay.
Okay, and one more.
Okay. Stop.
The Knight of Cups. Let's see. The problem is that you've been a journeyer and your sister is not. Your sister is more grounded in the world of the material, and you're more of a mystic seeker. And that when it comes to love, you are looking for a higher kind of relationship. She interprets love as what someone gives her materially. You are looking more at gifts of the soul. And that clash between your worldviews is what has led to the separation. And even though you get along better now than you once did, she was placed in your family in order to have the opportunity to learn that there was another way of viewing love and growth. We don't grow by what we know. We grow by the mistakes we've made. And she sees mistakes as something to be ashamed of. And even though you don't like making mistakes, you know that you've always learned. You just have this completely opposite worldview. I don't think you've known her before, particularly, but you were put together in order to clash. And that's just the way it is.
Okay. Interesting.
And that's what I've got to say.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah. else?
Something kind of came to me.
Hmm.
I knew someone as a child, and I have a question about that.
Okay.
Should I just ask it?
Yeah, tell me when to stop shuffling first.
Stop.
Okay. The card that came up on top was the Fool, which is interesting. I'm just going to set that aside because it wanted to come out. Give me a number to count in to pull a card.
3.
The Tower. The Tower is the card of disaster. I'm going to say, let me pull one more card. Just tell me when to stop.
Stop.
Who's out there?
Oh, Three of Swords. I always see this as heartbreak. There's something off here, Chels. There's fate. There's innocence and a loss of innocence. I'm not getting much on this, but it's very mysterious to me. I'm going to pull another card. Tell me when to stop.
Stop.
The Two of Coins. He looks like a jester. I don't know. I can't read anything here. But it's mysterious.
My basic question would be, will I ever reunite with them in this earthly plane, or will it, be in another, when once transition has happened?
I'm going to say you won't meet this person here, but you recognized each other. Like you've been here before, you go, oh, I know who that is, but there's no growth for you here right now, reuniting, maybe again sometime. So
you're such a researcher, Mary, and I often think of this person, and then I always think I should bring it up with Mary because maybe she can find him online.
but I can find anybody online.
But maybe it's not meant to be.
Maybe it's not. Get with me later. I'll help you out. Yeah. I had a job doing research like that for many years. Yeah. Barb, were you putting your hand up?
I was actually just going to ask Chelsea if what you heard from Mary kind of fit your question, but it sounds like as you spoke a little bit more, it sounds like it did. It made sense to you what she was saying.
It kind of sounded like a glaring no of that. I think it would be up to him finding me,
Mhm.
because I think he has more info on me than I actually have the details on him. But
Yeah. But
he
it's
was a cousin. He was like somewhat of a cousin of mine, and at some point he did reach out to Grandpa,
Mhm.
and
Does
so
know
he
Mary
he
Jane?
could find me through Grandpa. But I have a mix up of his last names and stuff, and I've always hit dead ends. But it's something that came up.
Yeah. Interesting. There are people who float through our lives and um you just know them, but it's not supposed to be right then. Yeah. So many people float through, and we're floating through their lives too. Um, yeah. Cecilia.
Hi. Yeah, I missed the first part. I am so sorry.
Oh.
But I did want to ask because I missed the first part. I didn't hear the introduction. but I know that in my understanding of readings of any sort, um, what is showing up primarily is the vibration of where that the situation is in the moment. However, once the reading has happened, you can alter that shift. You can alter that energy, that vibration, the path can certainly absolutely change now that you know which direction you're flowing in. You can make a change and completely alter what has been professed.
Mhm. Yeah, I completely believe in that. It's like the tarot cards are a tool. They have no power in and of themselves. Nothing is fated. Like if I were to get the transition card, um, it could just be a warning that I should put my seatbelt on. Um, I can there are tendencies that come along our paths that once we're aware of, we can use that understanding to make decisions that could go any number of ways. I don't believe that the tarot or anything else can tell you that you're going to um, be hit by a car or anything like that. My grandma used to do that so that we would be careful. When she would read our cards, she'd say, "Stay away from boys in cars." But that was grandma.
Did she say boys in cars or boys
It,
and cars?
she said boys in cars,
Oh, okay.
although she might have meant boys and cars. She was that kind. Yeah, Gino.
Yeah, Mary, I'm just curious about your experience and have you ever had something you'd be willing to share about somebody giving you a reading and the results of that reading?
Um, well, I'll tell you that the first time I started, this isn't quite the same thing you're asking for, but it's kind of a sign I got. Um, when I was first reading tarot, it was because I was doing research for a book I was writing called The Fool's Journey. And it was about this young woman poet in Seattle, and her cleaning lady read tarot. And that was going to be kind of you know, a precursor to some of the events that would happen later. So I had to learn how to read tarot in order to get the book to move along. So I went to my local New Age store and I was looking through like there are so many decks. There are hundreds of kinds of decks. There's the cat tarot and the angel tarot and the Jane Austen tarot. And I kid you not, there's everything. And so I picked up the Crowley deck. And I didn't realize that Aleister Crowley, who designed that deck, had been a Satanist. And I just didn't know anything. So I took them home and I was sitting on my living room floor and just doing different spreads and looking at the cards. And it was storming outside. I was up in Tacoma and it was just like a terrible storm. And I kept laying them out and messing them up. And I got this voice in my head that said, "This is not a game." And I packed them up. I wrapped them up. I addressed them to a person I knew who collected tarot decks. And I put every stamp I had on it. And I didn't put a return address on it. And I walked out in that storm and I stuck them in the corner mailbox. And that scared me for a long time. But once I got a prettier, pinker, rosier deck, I was okay. I don't know that I've ever had a reading where they said anything sufficiently substantive for it to come true. And, I approach all of this with kind of a grain of salt because sometimes you don't know whether the reader has something they want to say, especially if you're related to them. And they're going to say it that way. So, yeah, Barb?
Yeah, my one of my early experiences with tarot was I lived with a woman who was a tarot reader, And this was, gosh, back in probably the early 80s before my son was born. And I thought at one point that I was pregnant. I didn't know, and I didn't know what to do. And so she's like, well, let's do a reading on it. So, okay, she pulls out her cards, and there's a lot of cards in the deck. I think, like you mentioned, Mary, there's, 50 plus 20 or something,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
anyway, there's a lot. So she's like, shuffle them up. So I shuffled them up and pulled a few out. And the first one that we turned over, she's like, this is where you are right now. And it was the family card. And
Mm.
she's like, ooh, this was your question was about being pregnant. And so then we did more of a reading, and it was kind of vague. And then she's like, okay, well, didn't give us any real definite yes or no. It was, so let's try it again, shuffle them up. And so I went through and shuffled them up again. And, you split them a few times and shuffle. And then she's like, okay, pull again. And I pulled, and very first card was the family card again. And it was just like, what are the odds of that? And she's like, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're pregnant, but what it means is this is on your mind. This is what your kind of energy is working around at this point. So anyway, it turns out that I was indeed pregnant. Um, but because I had an IUD and it didn't last, but it was just that, and that maybe was because why everything was so vague. But I just thought that was so interesting that those first two picks, after all the shuffling and everything, were the same card.
Yeah. I think of the tarot as a pretty safe way to go with divination, and connecting with the other side, because I think they do speak to us in symbols and signs all the time. What I don't trust is Ouija boards. Um,
Mm.
I find those terrifying, and mainly, now here's an answer to your question, Gino. My mother and her sisters, when they were young and their husbands were away in World War II, um, they were playing with the Ouija board one night, and my Aunt Alice was there, and Alice asked about her son Clarence, who was in the Pacific region, and the Ouija board said he's already dead, and it turned out he was. Um, and then there was that may have been the last question of the evening, but my mother had asked, "How many children will I have?" Um, and it said two, and she said, "Oh gosh, only two," and it said six. Are you satisfied? And she had six children. Um, and then she asked, "How will my husband be coming home?" Because it could have been on a ship or whatever, and it said he comes home in his pajamas, and he had malaria, and he came home on a hospital ship. So that was like, it was just, that story always scared me as a little girl. I would not go there. So yeah, interesting stuff. Anyway, yeah, Jules.
Oh, well, just a couple of things. I keep thinking about your experience with your first deck of cards, tarot cards. And what came through was a voice in your head. So like, was that like a vibrational thing, or I mean, it scared you enough. I mean, you didn't stick around to say, "Oh, let me try it again," or anything like that.
I say I heard it, and I know what the voice sounds like, but I didn't hear it with my ears. And it was a
Right.
statement. This is not a gift.
Yeah.
It was like
Well,
a chastisement.
so like each deck of cards would have, I don't know, like certain
I think they all have their own vibrations. Some of them are very,
vibration. Yeah.
like the Halloween
Weird.
has very cute cats on it dancing around, and
But I mean, what happened with, I mean, that to me is pretty bizarre. For me, um,
yeah, but it was a time in my life when I thought things had power over me, and I don't believe that anymore.
uh, and I just want to also add, because I know our time is up, that I used to do the Ouija board with my girlfriend Jana all the time, because she's a psychic and a medium, and her grandparents parents, or her grandfather used to come through all the time, and her dad would come through.
Mm.
And I think that there was another time where it was some entity or whatever. But I don't remember ever having anything weird, a story like you did. Only that when her family came through, it was really fun. So, but I know Ouija boards are kind of scary. Can be, yeah.
Well, you don't know who's
So.
there.
Well, apparently her father was there a lot, and her grandfather or grandmother, one of the two, I don't remember. But we were doing it for fun, and thankfully nothing weird, happened, nothing scary. So
That's good. Okay, well, it looks like we are over time, but thank you all for coming. This has been really fun for me. I hope so for you. And
Yeah.
we'll see you around the block.
Yeah, sounds good. We'll see
Next
you all
week.
next week. Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.